So, we're heading to the endgame. Is the future going to remain fun, or are we going to be seeing a regression? Hey guys, MasakoX here. It's time for one of the oldest what ifs on this channel to be almost heading towards its farewell, or at least for the time being, until there is new anime content. Either way, it was one of my most requested story scenarios back in 2017 when I started this, and now 3 years later, it's time to bring it to an end and herald in some new stories for the future. This adventure began with the likes of Future Trunks and Future Gohan taking the chance in a different manner, utilizing the opportunity of actually looking up to the skies and realizing what they have up on the lookout, seeing what was available to them. Or at least do something to attract the attention of King Kai for once. Seriously, King Kai could have easily helped and tried to reach New Namek, but we digress. In this world, Future Gohan did survive. But what would happen if he did? Well, what did happen here was that Future Gohan and Trunks became a formidable force, defending the Earth, and were able to ultimately restore the future to what it was, and revive the Dragon Team to basically where they had been before the androids showed up. They had to catch up to them, sure, but it was certainly a much more serene time for them instead of the future we saw with Trunks. Thanks to the Rim of Spirit and Time still working, Gohan and Trunks saved the future, and set about bringing their timeline back to our timeline, albeit a little later than before. Gohan even got his arm back after getting used to having one robotic one, choosing to be more selfless for a long time. But then again, we still had an impertinent father to deal with, and it of course led to what we came to expect around Super Time. In the last part, we saw Goku, instead of choosing to ignore his misdemeanors, sharing his techniques, for once, which resulted in Trunks and Gohan gaining the power of Kaioken Blue to work with their own powers. With 3 of these blue, raspberry and strawberry Saiyans at the top of Team Universe 7, the lineup on paper was most impressive. But it also required some changes. Since we didn't have the need for Frieza to come up and we didn't have 17 and 18 to actually bulk up the numbers, we instead plucked inspiration from the Dragon Ball Z filler and chose 2 strong characters that really deserved more coverage. Pikkon and Alibu were joining the roster, recommendations from Goku from his extended time in the other world. With their support, the team began their time in the tournament fairly stable, sticking to the center of the ring, mostly, with more of the gang sticking close than before. In the end though, they still started to break away, with Trunks being told to buzz off by Piccolo, leaving Gohan and the Namekian alone in the middle, unsure what to do next, other than just wait it out and see what happens. How will this conclude? Well, we shall now start to begin that path to its conclusion. With the likes of Universe 9 and Frost out of the mix relatively quickly, Universe 7 is in a very strong position. With none of their contingent in any sort of peril, they were all in. They've got this under control. When we get to the situation with Hamira and Prum from Universe 2, Krillin and Tenshinhan are able to team up and resort to Triform and Multiform respectively, together to outsmart Hamira and then get close to Prum, ultimately defeating them both. We cut back to the center of the ring. Gohan and Piccolo are there standing guard, with the Namekian hoping that his young former student would then just shake up his noble stance for just less than an hour and actually help his team. They don't need my help, Mr. Piccolo. They can take care of things out there whilst I stay here and—
And what? Hide like a coward?
No! This ground is important to protect. If anyone tries to come for us— Sure enough, Nappa actually tests his theory, the one from Universe 10, does a Doskoi on Gohan, but is effortlessly tossed aside and slides out of the ring comedically. That happens!
After all you've been through, is this how you want to go out? Be remembered? It's sad. I've tolerated this drivel long enough.
Piccolo just walks away, with Gohan calling out for him to come back, but the Namekian is flatly ignoring him and just disappears into the carnage. Gohan is on his own, stewing with his thoughts. Instead of 18 taking on Shosa in the original, Ulibu is taking on the Wolfman from Universe 4 and is putting up a decent showing, despite his power not being as high as Pikkon's, nor in fact any of the other Dragon Team roster. It's close, but nevertheless, he's still more than enough to take down Shosa and get his first takedown. It had been a while since his last tournament, having spent a lot of time in personal reflection, and he was certainly glad to be fighting different opponents for once, instead of the same ones time and time again in other world tournaments. It gets a bit samey, you know. It's most refreshing. As the time continues to whittle down, Gohan is observing his team doing their thing, and with Tenshinhan and Krillin extending their time in the ring much more so than before, Universe 7 is looking absolutely unbeatable. Despite this though, the aura of Jiren is something that unnerves Gohan. He can't shake it off. This guy was also choosing to abstain from direct confrontation. Why? Did he feel the same way about this stupid contest? Or whatever he was up to, Gohan kept a close eye on him. It was all he could do to pass the time since Piccolo had bounced and Gohan wasn't actually going to be taking anyone directly. He's got to do something. However, he has now attracted the attention of Caulifla and Kale. They had noticed him being the least active member of the Universe 7 team and presumed that the reason for all of this inactivity was because he was the weakest or the most afraid, most vulnerable. Not far off on that second notion, in fact. Caulifla calls Gohan out, and before he can react, she leaps in with Super Saiyan and sends Gohan slamming into the central pillar of the arena. What was that for? You've been slacking off all this time. That Goku guy over there told me you were the strongest guy in the team. She motions to a vague location where Goku had been. Gohan curses under his breath. Way to go, Dad. He gets up and keeps his composure. I chose not to fight. This was not something I wanted. Caulifla laughs her head off and is crazing up with what she just heard. Even Kale is quite shocked at Gohan's rhetoric. You call yourself a Saiyan? All I hear is a bunch of whining. I ain't gonna let you breeze through the shindig unchallenged. Fight me! Gohan does not want this and tries to bluff his way out of it. I really wouldn't do that if I were you. Oh, you gonna cry or something? That'll just make me want to beat you harder. Gohan clenches his fist. He has no choice. He powers up to Super Saiyan 2 immediately, and Caulifla is blown away with the strength on display. Now he's turning up the heat. Now they know. Now they know. Gohan looks stern. Last chance. Get out of here, or else you'll regret your bravado. Caulifla is not paying attention to his words. Instead, she is getting excited, psyching herself up, and soon the two fight, with Kale cheering her on. As these two fight, Goku then spots Kale, who is doing nothing. Yo, you looking for a fight? Kale is stunned and quivers on the spot. No, thank you. Come on, I don't mind. I want to see what you can do. If you're as strong as your friend, I'm really excited to see what you can do. Kale feels really nervous, and we know why, but Goku doesn't. She starts to fight Goku in her base form, and he does the same. When he wonders why she can't transform, Kale says it's because she tried that once and it ended badly. Goku then tries to encourage Kale into trying to reach it, but instead of the usual reaction being excited like a Saiyan would, it makes Kale feel even more inadequate and agitated. Come on, I know you can do it. You got this. Just try. She's starting to well up and begging Goku to stop, but he isn't listening. He will be soon. Kale starts to power up, and her hair becomes greenish yellow, as well as bulking out. Gohan and Caulifla's fight suddenly stops when Caulifla spots her friend hulking out. Oh, not good. You! She talks to Gohan. We gotta get her under control! Gohan spots the crazy power coming from Kale and is horrified at the sorrow and anguish coming from her ki. They can't stop it the normal way. Kale's berserk form then begins to pound on Goku, and he has no answer for it, going up the Super Saiyan transformation ranks, and each time, Kale just gains more power. Goku at first was quite pleased to see this young woman show her potential, but when it became clear that she was unresponsive to anything that he was saying and was out of control, he changed his tune immediately. Gohan was seriously regretting letting Goku leave the center of the arena. He was just causing trouble. Again. In any case, Gohan and Caulifla try to calm Kale down, but she is completely blinkered. The fight between her and Goku traverses the entire arena, taking out several of the weaker fighters, mostly from Universe 10 obviously, who were caught in the wake. Kale was utterly unresponsive. Gohan has no choice but to call upon Super Saiyan Blue, and that gets through to her. She whips around, and with Goku getting a chance to regroup, he joins his son, and together they manage to slow Kale down enough for Caulifla to calm her down back to her senses. With Kale unconscious, Caulifla thanks the two Saiyans for saving her friend from madness, but promises that round 2 will be coming up very soon. In that moment, Gohan senses Jiren's energy flicker. With that kind of power on display, if that was barely enough to cause a flutter of activity from Jiren, how strong was he? The tournament continues with the teams starting to dwindle, but Universe 7 remains strong for a little longer. Ribrianne, having no 17 and 18 to bounce off of, instead turns her attention to Pikkon and Piccolo. These two are relatively stoic, and they do not really respond to her speeches about love. Pikkon turns to Piccolo and asks if he agreed with any of the nonsense they were spewing out. The latter shrugs.
We Namekians don't really understand that kind of thing the way she does. It's annoying. Glad we're on the same page. You want to show them a thing we love? After babysitting Gohan, I'm game for anything.
This was quite an admission for Piccolo. He had grown quite weary of Gohan's overly virtuous acting throughout all of this, so he was keen to distract himself, and now getting a chance to do so with this newcomer, who seemingly shared his values, was actually a nice change of pace. We continue the contest, and as the battle between Hit and Dispo is reaching fever pitch, with Trunks aiming to help Hit in some way, but the mercenary's not really interested in his help, having not really gained much affinity or respect for the guy after the Universe 6 tournament. He really should have accepted the offer though. Without any help from Universe 7, Hit is in real trouble against Dispo and Kunchi, and it's only the likes of Olibu who saves him from elimination.
I do not wish to see such underhanded tricks be used in this tournament.
Olibu is expecting a thank you for his efforts, but Hit just grunts before performing a 1-second time skip, which is enough to send Olibu flying out of the ring along with Kunchi.
Too trusting.
Olibu out, having not really understood what happened, Beerus tuts and says that all these millennia of training of his were pointless.
King Kai clearly has poor taste in fighters.
Pikkon senses that Olibu is out and laments his friend's trusting nature, but he's too busy with the Universe 2 squad to try and avenge him. With her love not getting through, we then get Super Ribrianne going up against Pikkon, trying to teach him and Piccolo about the power of love, but it's not getting through to them at all. She's just picked two of the most apathetic and indifferent fighters to go up against using her adoration abilities. With Pikkon getting more irritated than endeared to her, he just whips out the big guns, and together with Piccolo's special beam cannon, they just simply throw her out of the ring. Toppo is starting to get a little bit restless with Jiren's inactivity now, being like Piccolo, and informs the Pride Trooper that if they were able to get that Gohan fellow over there from Universe 7 out of the ring, it might cause the rest of that team to fall apart, and thusly lead to a rapid ending of this tournament, and for Jiren to get the wish that he wanted on the Super Dragon Balls. Reluctantly, Jiren heads out and makes his way towards Gohan. Speaking of, the young man has now caught up with Trunks to try and regroup and get an understanding about the situation, what the team are doing. Right now, only Olibu had been eliminated, and with a third of the contest done, things were looking really good. That is until Jiren shows up! Jiren catches the two of them off guard with an air punch, sending Trunks to the ground in a heap of pain. Gohan whirls around and spots that it's that guy he'd sensed earlier. He'd woken up.
Son Gohan.
Trunks gets up again and gets in Gohan's way. If you've got a problem with Gohan, you've got a problem with me. Trunks, back off. This isn't your problem. Don't worry, I can take him. He powers up to Super Saiyan 2 and tries to land some punches, but they don't do anything. Trunks, that's enough! Leave this to me, Master! I've got plenty to give!
Annoying fly.
Jiren whacks Trunks out of the way and into several boulders a fair ways away. Had he been flung out of the ring? Jiren didn't really care. His mission was to take down Universe 7's captain.
It seems that I must fight you. Submit now, and I will make this as painless as possible.
Gohan is not fazed by this bluster. Clearly, Super Saiyan 2 wasn't enough to do anything. It's time to bring out the blue power. He powers up to blue and launches a Kamehameha at the same time. Jiren walks forward and takes the blast, leaving only scuff marks on his uniform.
What was that?
Gohan is fazed by this. This had no effect? Belmod laughs to himself and congratulates his Pride Trooper's sheer strength. The fight continues to ramp up, with Gohan getting more and more aggravated. He resorts to using Kaioken Blue times 20, and that can get somewhere with Jiren, but it's nowhere near enough to warrant long-term usage. Jiren is getting disappointed, and instead is getting ready to finish off this encounter and starts to body slam the rest of Universe 7, trying to get Gohan to be even stronger, starting with a little bald one. Goku then makes himself known, and it turns out that he'd been readying something, the Genki Dama. Gohan is surprised to see this appear, and wonders whether it'll even work. Is Jiren a bad guy? Is that how it works? He shouldn't be. He's meant to be a superhero in his universe. What's going on? Is this gonna work? Either way, it was worth a shot. he flies up to his father and offers to help power it up and control it, having learnt the basics of the Genki Dama but never really intended to use it. Jiren chooses to humour this move and beds himself into the ground. Father and son then launch the move, and it does its thing of becoming a black hole like in the original, sucking Goku and Gohan inside of it, seemingly before exploding. Were they gone? Well, it was too hard to say. But then, from within the pillar, the thing that Gohan had initially been really comforted by emerges a figure. It's Gohan, carrying his father, who had fallen unconscious. There was something odd about Gohan. His hair had gone black again, but his eyes were all weird, silvery. Whis knew exactly what this was. He had done it. Gohan had only gone and done it. It was the arrival of Ultra Instinct Sign Gohan. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you guys think? Will this version of Gohan be enough to stop Jiren? What happened to Goku? And will he be helpful and in any condition to do anything now? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!